And the strange part was you'd already decided, not thinking about it, decided. You knew you were going to do the thing. You could picture yourself doing it. And then you watch yourself not do it. Just for a second, you reached for your phone instead, or you thought, I will just finish this one thing first. And the second passed, the moment went with it, and somehow so did the whole afternoon. The second, the one between deciding to start and actually starting, that's the whole thing. That's where all of it happens, not in the work, in the half second before the work. By the end of this video, you're going to know why that half second is so hard and why everything you've been struggling with gather right there, and one plain way to get through it before the argument in your head has time to start back up. Hello, I'm Mei, and you are watching a series on the topic in and around procrastination. Here's something worth noticing first. Most people who struggle with this, with procrastination, with putting things off, they don't actually struggle with the work. Think about your own version of it. When you finally sit down and begin, how bad is it usually? Most of the time it's fine. You get in and you get on, you get going, and part of you think, why didn't I just do this an hour ago? So the work was never the problem. You've proven that. Every single time it turns out fine once you started. I worked with someone once. I will change the detail, a consultant, a very capable, delivered good work every time. And she'd lose the whole mornings, not to hard things, to easy ones. A form she had to fill in, one email she had to send. She decided to do it at 9 and at 11, it still wasn't done. And never because she couldn't. She could do it in 4 minutes. She just couldn't seem to get across those 4 minutes. The gap between deciding and doing, most of us act like it isn't there. Like deciding to start and starting are the same thing. They're not. And once you see they're not, this all looks different. So let me say plainly what's going on. You think you've got a discipline problem or a work problem. You don't. The hard part was never the work. You keep proving that. The hard part is one specific place, the crossing. Getting from I've decided to I've started. And here's what happens. In that crossing, every time, the decision reopens. You decided, but right at the edge, right as you are about to move, a quiet, reasonable voice starts up again. In a minute, let me just do this one first. I will start fresh after lunch. I will do it properly tomorrow when I've got a clear run at it. And it always sounds reasonable. That's the whole trick of it. And it doesn't always sound like an excuse. Sometimes it sounds like being careful. Something like, let me just think this through a bit more first. Or let me get my approach right before I dive in. And you keep weighing in, turning it over, and you don't move. You might call that one analysis paralysis. But look at what it actually is. It's just the same reopening in smarter clothes. The task hasn't got any harder. You've just got found a more respectable way to stay on this side of the line. Now notice the timing. Whichever way it shows up, you're trying to make the decision to start at the exact moment you are least able to make it. Right at the edge, with the pull at its strongest, that's the worst possible moment to be deciding anything. We looked in the last two videos at why that pull is there and why it gets stronger over time. This is where all of it show up right here. In the half second, it doesn't have to beat you across the whole task. It only has to win once at the edge. And it's a very good winning there. So here's the question that matters. If the edge is the worst place to decide, what do the people who get across reliably actually do? Because some people do. And when researchers looked at what separated the people who follow through from the people who don't, it wasn't willpower at the edge. It wasn't that they wanted it more or grit their teeth harder in the moment. It was that they'd already decided the moment in advance before they ever got there. In study after study, the people who moved were the one who'd make one small plan ahead of time. Not a plan for the task, a plan for the start. They've decided somewhere calm and early when this happens. I do that. A specific moment tied to a specific first move. So when the moment came, there were nothing to decide. The deciding was already done. Nothing left to argue with. In one set of studies that followed people over weeks, that single change, deciding the moment in advance, made a large difference to how many of them actually followed through, just from moving the decision earlier. So that's the tool, and it's plain. You decide the trigger before you need it. Two parts, and both matter. The first is the moment itself. It has to be real, not later, not this afternoon. A findable moment when I sit down with my first coffee, when I close my laptop at 6, when I walk back in the door. Something that's actually going to happen, that you will recognize it when it comes. Later never arrives. A real moment arrives. The second one is the move. And this is where most people get it wrong. The thing you attach to the moment is not the task. It is the first physical thing. Open the document. Like putting shoes on. Write one line. That's all. Why so small? Because the argument doesn't start up over opening a file. It starts up over the whole mountain. Your mind will happily argue with, write the report. It's got nothing to say about opening a document and write one line. It is too small to argue with, so you shrink what the moment triggers down to something the voice can't get a grip on. Here's the part worth sitting with. This is the same machinery that's been working against you. Just point it the other way. That's a quick pull towards the easy thing is fast because it is trained in. It fires without you deciding. Well, a start can be trained in exactly the same way. You attach the first move to a cue, and after a while, it begins to fire on that cue on its own without negotiation. Now, you're not becoming more disciplined person. You're just getting there before the pool wakes up. So let's not just talk about it. Let's do one now with me. Bring to one thing you've been putting off, just one. You know the one. Don't pick the biggest. Pick the one that's been sitting there. Got it? Good. Now, the moment. Not today, not soon. The exact next time it could realistically happen. When I, finish that. When you sit down after this, when you get in tomorrow morning, find a real moment and see it. Now, the first move, not the task, the smallest physical thing that counts as started. Opening something, one line, standing up. What's the very first move? Now put them together once in your own words. Quietly, when that moment comes, I do that first thing. Say it to yourself once, and now just let it sit. Don't do anything with it. That's it. That's the whole thing. You've done it once now, and doing it once isn't nothing. It's the part that makes it hold. So quickly, what we've got, all of it. The putting off, the circling, the not starting, it was never a work problem. It is a half second before the work, the crossing. And it is hard because you are trying to decide right at the edge where you are least able to. So you don't decide there, you decide earlier. You pick the moment, you pick the first small move, and you tie them together in advance so that when the moment comes, there's nothing left to argue with. I want to leave you a question I'd like you to actually answer below. Think of a time you did get across, a time you started before the argument could get going. What was the moment that moved you? Not what it cost you to wait, what actually got you over the line. That once. I read this and people find their own answer in someone else. There's one more thing, and I am going to leave it sitting for now. For some people, that first move feels far heavier than the task could possibly deserve. Like starting means something about them. That's not really about starting at all. It's worth its own time, and we will come to it later in the series. Because here's what happens once you are across, something shifts. The thing that gets you started isn't the same thing that keeps you going, and the second one is quieter and steadier, and you don't have to manufacture it. There's where we go next. What task over once, the first move is behind you. If this was useful, please like and subscribe. It's simply a way to catch the next one. And if you have any comments, please post in the comment below. And I may add evolve minds. Until my next video, thank you for watching.